Come on. Really? Of course. What the hell? I don't understand this. Alright, there it goes. Alright, so I got the stream up. I don't know if you guys can hear me though. Because I can't hear myself, so that's what I was trying to test. So, well, anyone tuning in, I'm doing a test stream just to kind of verify my setup, but I figured I'd do some prep work while I do it, just to see like how the chat screen goes, stuff like that. And we're gonna prep this Nintendo to remove the CPU and the PPU from a necessity build. So anyone who doesn't know what a necessity build is, or if you haven't seen it, looked it up, it's essentially building a Nintendo from scratch with all brand new parts. The thing is though is that it uses it uses the original PPU, the picture processing unit, and the CPU from a Nintendo, but it has all brand new parts. So I bought all the connectors, all the ICs that are required to do this build, but before I can do the build, I have to pull these two parts off. So I figured, why not do a test stream, see how everything works, my audio, all that stuff, and then we'll pull these two parts off, and then I can come back and watch this, or if someone chats with me, they can tell me how it's sounding on their end, and I can make adjustments, so that way when I actually want to go build that kit, I can do it live with you guys, and we can kind of walk through how to build, and I can show you that it's not really all that hard. So I'm gonna throw some solder flux down here. This helps with heat transfer. So that's the part we want to get off here. So, and then I'll have my soldering iron, and then a desoldering gun here. So I guess before I do that, I should throw some solder on here. So all I'm doing here is throwing some fresh solder on the pins. This makes it easier to pull the solder off here in a sec. So now we'll get to desoldering. Essentially, you're just going to heat up one pin at a time, and then pull the solder off. Being careful not to do too much heat. Because you don't want to damage the board. Oh, come on, thing. So, this is kind of the tedious part. I kind of wish I had like an automated one that did all the plunging for me, but it's not been one of my top priorities, because doing the plunger stuff works pretty well too. Just takes time. Let me know how the audio sounds on your guys' end, and I'll make adjustments. Looks like I missed a few here. Didn't get it all the way. Now we'll kind of go to the other side here. Then I'll probably end up figuring out some way to put music or turn music on behind me, one or the other. Kind of have music playing right now. I was just kind of seeing how sensitive the microphone was to that music. Oh, come on. So then you want to check, let the board cool down. You don't want to hit it completely fast. I understand these streams will be kind of boring, especially this prep one. This is why it's my test one. I figure I can do some test work here and just see how it goes. The other way we can do this, see if this kind of helps a little bit, but probably not, is you can use a solder wick. Of course, my wick's all bound up now. Let's see if we can clean this up a little bit here. So the solder wick, it's copper with some flux in it, and the whole point of it is to give the solder something to adhere to, and then it the solder won't stick back to the pad. It'll actually come up with the copper, and so it just kind of makes things a little bit cleaner. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see the difference here between like some of the ones that are open versus some of the ones that still have solder connecting it. So, come on. The only problem with the solder wick is it gets hot sometimes, so you have to kind of let it cool off before you can move on to the next part. So this is the stuff you don't see though in recorded videos, right? You don't see how complicated or how much work goes into it. Oh, come on. I didn't pull anything for that one. These few pins right here are kind of on a ground plane. So they're kind of being stubborn to melt. Might actually have to pull out my desoldering gun instead of just having a soldering iron. Come on. There it goes. Kind of being stubborn here. Oh, come on. God, some of these pins are being stubborn. I'm wondering now if it's just a heat gun, if I just heat it up, since I don't really care about the board itself anymore. I don't remember my last Nintendo I pulled these off being that stubborn. Make sure I'm careful. I don't want to heat the CPU up too much, because if I heat it up too much, then I can damage the inside, and then have then it would be pretty much all this work for waste, and I'd have to go find another donator system. Which is something I don't want to do. I'd hate to waste a perfectly good CPU to try to because I was trying to be quick and fast with this. Come on. Oh, I messed that one up. Almost got the top. Chance bet. Take a quick look at this. I don't know if you guys can actually see that. I've done it before, but I don't know if, let's see. No, it doesn't help. Only helps me. Yeah, there's a couple pins there, but not. It's getting there. Alright, I'm done fighting this one. Let's use the other guy. So I have this guy's kind of built for this, but it's kind of a struggle on its own. We'll see if this one heats up. While that's warming up, we'll continue working on. Do some solder wick work here. Oh, come on. I don't know if it's getting hot or not. Lights on, but man, it's sure taking its time. What I think it sucks with that one takes forever, where my normal gun takes only a couple seconds to really warm up and go. Hopefully that gun gets up soon. And while we wait, we'll continue making work. Hear me loud and clear? Awesome. Glad to hear it, CV. Thank you. How's the camera? Do you want it lower? I put it on a controllable arm so I can actually move it and kind of adjust it around. I can change the angle depending on like what I'm working on. All of a sudden the plunger was like not wanting to work. There it goes. Yeah, I could move this. I can bring it down closer. Kind of why I set this up this way. I can bring this down. Oh, oh, come on, head. Try to give you guys a better angle. Depending on what we're working on. I got to get a better swivel head for it. See if this thing's melting yet. There it goes. Clean it up. So that's solder flux. It's tinning. It's tinning stuff to help kind of apparently the plunger was all plugged on that one. Weird. Let's try this guy. Yeah, I think this guy's plugged up. Not really. Oh, maybe it is working. Yeah, this guy's working pretty well now. You guys want, how loud is the music, Christina? Let me know how loud the music is. I can turn it up or turn it down. Let's see, this is the nice thing about this gun right here is when you get in those ground planes, you can kind of leave it on there and you don't have to move the gun so it doesn't like it doesn't move on you. That's the problem is when you're trying to heat it up with a gun and using the manual pump, it once you take the gun away, the solder starts to kind of try to harden back up, so you have to be super quick. Take a quick second here. Look back on the magnifying glass. Okay, so it looks like There's 2 pins here, a 3rd pin, 4th. There's only a couple more pins. We should be able to get that CPU off. So it looks like right here. And like this one right here. That one doesn't want to pull up. It all looks good, sweet. Let's see, which one are we missing now? Looks like most of the top here is pretty much good. A couple of pins might be stuck, but I've got a couple here. Little stubborn bastards. So this one right here, the pin's kind of bent over a little bit. Oh yeah, that pin's bent all the way over. Well, bastard, that's gonna be a pain in the ass. That's why that one's being a pain. So when they soldered this one on, they bent the pin completely. They bent the pin completely over. That one's gonna be kind of a pain. I'm gonna have to like be creative here, and I'm gonna have to. I don't want to nick it. A lot of people just say clip it and go, but because I'm gonna be using a a port. I don't want to have to worry about that pin not reaching into the socket, not the port, sorry. If I can't clear this one up a little bit here. Literally like 3 of them here. Well, that one came out. I could just get that one to release. So these 2 that are being stubborn as hell. So what we're gonna try to do here is I'm gonna try to heat this one up and then use a flathead, a little flathead to try to see if I can get the pin to stand up a little bit. See if that worked. Almost, it's there. It's up, but it's I need to get it up to the side. So excuse the magnifying glass here, real quick, guys. Sorry, because this pin right here wants to be a pain. I have to be able to see it. There we go. All right. Now it's standing up and down. Now hopefully we can get this one to clean out. Oh, come on. Well, thank God I don't have to save this board because I've exposed some of these traces on here. But is that one not like... Oh, the pin broke off. Pin broke off, but at least it's broke off on this side of the board and not on this side. Because if it was broke off on this side, then we'd have an issue with we'd have an issue where the pin would be too short. So thankfully it broke off on the correct side. Then what we're gonna do is we're going to see if we can't gently remove this guy with a little different tactic. So we're gonna use a hot air gun is what we're gonna do. Where's my power cord? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this and push a bunch of hot air at it and see if we can't get this guy to remove itself from the board. Come on. Okay. Turn it up a little bit. Kind of had it turned down. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of putting a slight pressure on the back side of it while I heat it up. Only enough to hopefully get it to Alright, why are you being stubborn? Okay, there it goes. Come on. Starting to come. I can see some of the pins. Come on. Shouldn't be this hard. There it goes. Starting to come off. There we go. We got half. Now we get the other half. Come on. Get on there. Almost there. Although I realize I'm now off camera blocking it all, ain't I? Yeah, so as you can see, we got most of it off. I'm gonna have to come to the other side and make some pressure here. Oh, come on. Like I said, thankfully, I'm not trying to save this board. Just want the part. Come on. Oh, come on, you bastard. Now you're being a pain in the ass. There we go. There we go. Ow, that's hot. That's really hot. So, let's see. What do I got here? The pliers. So, we have successfully now removed the part, one of the parts we need. So, while it's hot though, we can make sure the pins are all nice and in place, but there you go. So, that was my, that was the PPU. So, I wish I had a Sharpie here. I'd write P on it, but I will make sure to set that guy aside. Now we got to get the CPU out of here. Wonder if it's just easier, instead of trying to desolder it, to just freaking just try to heat it up. And we'll just do what we did on the first one. Just this time, let it. Yeah, maybe we need more. Let's do this. These pins right here. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're going to put a little heat to here. Throw a little solder on it, and then we'll heat it up. Sometimes the old solder it's been there for so long that it just needs a little fresh. Come on, God. Almost there. So, put a little. You don't want to put a lot. You just want to put enough that it just kind of freshens the solder that's there. Makes it a little easier to melt it. Okay. So now we'll hit it with the gun and see if we can't get this guy to remove. Oops, I don't know why I'm grabbing that. I need this. Okay. Plus, with this, with the solder on here, you can actually see it, see when the solder starts to melt. I was trying to use a nicer temperature, but apparently we gotta kick it up. Come on. Other spots are melting, but not the spot I need to start melting. Come on. Need to open the door. I'm starting to smoke up my room here. Apparently doesn't want to do that way. Well, we will go back to this. As my cable's all caught up on everything. Since apparently it doesn't want to do it that way, we'll just do it the typical way. But we should hopefully... The board will be kind of warm, so it shouldn't take as much effort to heat up the thing. Sometimes that is something people do, is they will they'll prep the board by preheating it up. So right now, like, these pins are starting to go pretty quick, so that's good. If you're going to use a desolder gun like this, make sure wherever you're pushing the plunger down, it's not somewhere where you care. Although, why am I getting a bunch of shadow here for some reason? Because the gun itself will make a mess. Once you push it out, it'll try to spit all that solder out sometimes. So because, like I said, I'm not really worried about saving this board. I got a spot right here built up of all the excess. So usually I use like a trap like this to kind of spit it into, because then I can clean it out. But if you're like trying to pull a board out or a piece off so that you can you know, resolder it on or reflow it or something like that, don't clean your desoldering gun above your board, because you're just gonna make a mess. I'm almost done with half here. Okay. Nope, that one didn't take, so let's get that one again. There we go. Okay. I definitely am gonna have to play some music though while I'm doing this next time. I have music playing behind me, but not very loud. I'm sure this is tedious and boring. But we're almost there. We're about halfway done with the bottom half of the second chip. And this is all we have to pull off the other board. Everything else on this board stays. You could theoretically save the RF module, you could save the power block, stuff like that, but to be honest, it's really not worth it. Especially with the amount of different kits you can buy to replace the power supply on the Nintendo. I'm actually looking at a mod that I think I'm going to buy that allows me to, instead of using the old school power brick, it gives me the ability to use a USB-C cable similar to what I charge my iPhone with a standard 5-volt block, and I can power my Nintendo that way, which seems really cool to me because I seen a mod to do the same thing for my GameCube and my Super Nintendo. So if I mod all of my Nintendo systems to all use a USB-C, then changing out consoles on my setup will be actually really fast and easy. Okay, so let's check. That should be all of them, so let's check it. Looks like all but 2. Looks like second one here, and this one right here in the middle. Looks like only 2 of them didn't clear. Ouch, I burnt myself there. Dumbass. So it was that one. And that one right there. Oh, no, I missed it. I missed the second one there. This one right here. There, here we go. So, to emphasize what I was talking about, you can see it here. That's the mess I was talking about right in the middle, right there. That's all the stuff that I've been pulling out of the sockets and blowing back out right here in the middle. So, now, let's go back to the heat gun. Gotta wait for it to get hot again because it's got an automatic trigger. And this is how we're going to get the rest of it off, because now with most of the solder missing, it's just getting the last bit out of the way. There we go. Starting to go. I can feel it kind of giving up. Well, that's annoying. And then that's going to be loud as hell. My compressor just came on out in the garage. We'll shut that. That should help. I didn't realize I still had that on. I was putting air in my tires. As I'm sliding back off of camera again. So remember, you don't want to push too hard. You're just trying to give it enough, because if you pry too hard, you can break the chip. So all you're trying to do is get something that kind of helps it want to separate itself from the board. So I'm running this gun right now probably about 730 degrees. So need something a little bigger here. There we go. Come on. Oh yeah, it's almost there. Just a couple more pins. Come on. Oh, just a couple more pins. It's almost there. Come on. There we go. Ow, that's hot. Hey guys, don't touch that. That's hot. So let me put this board here out of the way. So there's our chip. So while this is hot, I did kind of realign some pins. So we're going to realign them back into place here. Because you don't want to do it while it's cool. Because if you do it while it's cool, then you risk damaging the pins themselves. And these guys are not very they're not very thick. So alright, so there's our CPU right there. So as you can see, we now have 2 empty sockets on the board. So there's a lot of other parts you could save if you really wanted to. But like I said, again, this board I'm not worried about. This board will just kind of sit in my collection of garbage boards. Of ones I could pull parts off. Like if I find a repair where I need to pull that CPU off of, the power supply off of, then I can. So, but you can clearly see like that one pin. Come on, camera. You can see the one pin there is a little bit shorter. The one that broke off while I was trying to heat it up. So, we don't need the desolder gun anymore. So let me seal this guy up. So a lot of things a lot of people don't do when they take their tools down is tinning the tip. You want to make sure you tin your tip, guys. A lot of people don't realize it. When you tin the tip, it cleans it up. And then what you want to do is put some fresh solder on it. And then unplug it. And then set it somewhere to cool. So let me set this out here real quick. Because essentially what we're doing here is we're melting metal, right? So what do you get when you melt metal? You get impurities and oxidization. Well, if you let your tip oxidize, it essentially starts to rust. So you want to clean that off and make sure that it's ready to go. So now what we're gonna do is just some slight cleanup. So some of these pins still had a little solder left from taking it off the board. So all I'm doing is just kind of heating up the solder that's on the edge and just taking it away. So that way when I go to put it on the new board, it's just a smooth transition. So there we have it. There's your PPU. CPU actually came off really clean. Oh, no, one pin right here. 2 pins. I'm just trying to remove again the old solder. That way it doesn't become a problem later. So, there we go. So, CPU, CPU. So now what we do is if we were going to put this in, we grab our kit with all of our parts. That's our main board. And then what we have here is you have a socket that looks like this. And so what would happen is this socket, so on this board, the PPU is going to get this socket here, so you put that in there. And then what you do is you're going to use these pins right here would solder onto my RGB board right here. So they didn't give me a tearaway for this one. We'll create our own. So this right here is the NES RGB, if you guys haven't seen one before. So essentially what will happen is these pins will end up going on the outside here, like so. Then once I soldered those in right there, I can take the PPU here and I can solder this guy on top, like so. And then that will create my the PPU to run, which is the picture processing unit or your graphics chip on your NES, and that will allow that to go through. And then this board will end up sitting on top here, and then this will just act as a middleman for your graphics processor and allow you to run it out a different direction. So that way you can get RGB and run component instead of composite. And then with this kit, pull this guy back. With this kit, you get new ports. So, new power supply. You get a headphone jack for audio. So instead of you running your audio through the composite component setup, you could theoretically run just straight through a headphone jack for your audio, so you can throw it in your stereo system, whatever, or an auxiliary jack. And then you have 2 different ones. You can use one or the other, right? So if you want, you can use the Sega Genesis 2 10 pin, or you can use a NES Video. I like the Sega Genesis myself because I already have that and a really nice SCART cable. So it's kind of nice to be able to just have that one cable where I can run this port and not have to worry about swapping around cables or having a bunch of different cables for all my parts. Another piece that I love about this kit is this board that's in here. So you get one of 2 options. Let's tape off here. So you get one of 2 options. You can either run more of a standard power supply, which is going to be right here. This is your standard. This is your power and AV. So this right here would run more of a traditional standard Nintendo power supply, and it would also have your not your RF, but it would have your not that one, the S video port, that would go in here, and then it would also have your left, your right for your audio and stuff like that. Versus if you went with this one, this guy here is your RGB, so it gives you your plugs to your necessity, or not your necessity, but the RGB. So these header right here, this will be the header that goes to the RGB chip here, and so these wires allow you to run through with your CYV BGRS pinout right here. So it's kind of nice that it comes with both. It takes some time to figure out some other cool little features. While I have this video going, we'll talk about it, because I won't have the time to actually do the full kit today. I'll have to do it in pieces. But one of the other cool things is that instead of running the Nintendo from the American version, you run the Famicom expansion port here, so you can use Famicom devices and expansion. Not only that, you have these 3 pots here. So with the necessity, you get a new audio chip that gives you stereo audio, and so you have a left, a right channel, and you can balance. You have to like sit there and tune it and get the balance right. But then you also get the Famicom expansion audio on this board, so you'll be able to bring the Famicom audio expansion to your NES. And then there's the microphone. So for those who don't know, on the Famicom there was actually a microphone, so certain games you could actually yell at your console to tell it to do something. And so this also brings the microphone with a pot for the microphone, so that you can adjust the level of it as well. So it's a neat kit because it brings a lot of features that were missing in the NES that were not missing in the Famicom. And then here's your header jacks, depending on how you want to do it. So there's your yellow for your composite. There's your other 2 jacks, depending on the type of God, why is it so dim right here? I need to fix my light. It just doesn't seem like it's bright. I'm just getting a lot of glare, and nope, stay in here. So depending on how you want to do it, so this is jacks that go on the actual power board itself, which I put away. So if you're doing a normal NES shell, you can run these guys here, and these solder straight to the board and stick as a connector. If you're running a mod where you don't want to run off the power board, you can run this guy, and this will press into a hole that you drill yourself, and then you can run wires wherever you want, which is also neat because I've seen some of these guys who do these mods run the Super Nintendo audio video port, and so you can run that connector as well if you wanted to. So instead of running that, you just figure out the pin out you need, and you run them over, then you cut a hole in your NES shell, and that will allow you to run the Super Nintendo audio video port instead of actually having to run the Sega Genesis. So this definitely isn't one of those like easy, quick do kind of things. So this is why I'm not going to finish it today. I just was doing prep work and testing because I wanted to make sure this setup was going to be good enough for us to use. But it's one that I do want to start next weekend, and we'll work our way through it, and we'll start with getting some of the parts built and ready, and then we'll see how far we can go. We'll see if we can get to an almost complete state, or if it takes a couple different streams. But by doing this way, you guys at least get to see how the kit's put together, not just a abridged version where someone went through, recorded it, and then cut the video around and all that stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this setup's good for you. Drop me a comment, drop a like, let me know what you think. If there's anything you guys would like to see done differently, or how I can do this better for you guys, because this is all about sharing, right? Because I could build this by myself. This kit's a lot of fun. This will be my 3rd one I've done. I've sold my other 2, but this is something that I think is a lot of fun and have no problem doing by myself. But I wanted to kind of share the build process And for those that are curious, I'll show you how this one's going to get built. This one has a nice little addition that my other two didn't have, and that's we're going to be going with a, pull the camera back a little bit more, guys. This one's going to get a see-through purple shell for the build. So that it's going to get a pretty little transparent purple shell. So this one should come out really nice. So hopefully you guys like it and enjoy. And like I said, let me know what you guys would like to see different, how you guys like to see it set up, because I'm willing to adjust to make it better for you guys. So, thank you, Christina, for giving me the comments. Anyone else that was listening, if you guys want, like I said, to drop in a comment, let me know what you guys thought, and thank you guys for being here and watching, and hopefully we can do some better mods, because I do have a lot of other really cool mods that I want to do for you guys. Like the Pico mod on the GameCube, I have one more I can do. That's my personal one. And then I have a couple more builds I want to go through and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys tune in for those as well. And I'll leave that there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next